The Galactic Council believed Earth would fall like every world before it, quickly, quietly, completely. But when their fleets moved in, they didn't find fear. They found humanity waiting. And the message Earth sent back was unmistakable, delivered in fire and wreckage. If you try to conquer humanity, you don't get a second chance. The arrival and the ultimatum, the day the sky changed, the detection systems at the International Space Monitoring Station picked up the anomaly at 347 hours on March 15th, 2251. Dr. Elena Morrison was the first to see it. A wave of distortions appearing beyond the orbit of Mars. Within minutes, the distortions resolved into shapes. Massive shapes. Ship's director James Chen arrived at the control center within 20 minutes. He was a veteran of the resource wars, a man who thought he had seen every crisis Earth could face. He was wrong. The screen showed 12 vessels, each one larger than anything humanity had ever constructed. The smallest was 3 kilometers long. The largest defied easy measurement. Are they responding to our signals? Chan asked. Elena shook her head. Nothing. They've been silent for 2 hours. But, Director, they're moving. All of them. They're heading toward Earth. The world's governments were notified simultaneously. For the first time in human history, every nation responded as one. Emergency protocols that had been theoretical for decades were activated. Military forces across the globe went to maximum alert. Scientists were pulled from their sleep. Diplomats prepared for a moment they had dreamed about and dreaded in equal measure. The voice from beyond the transmission came 18 hours after the first detection. It bypassed every security protocol, appeared on every screen, every device, every piece of technology capable of displaying information. The face that appeared was not human, but it was somehow familiar. 2 eyes, though larger and golden. A mouth, though the teeth were too sharp. Skin that looked like polished copper. People of Earth, the being said. Its voice was translated instantly into every human language. I am Commander Vex Thorol of the Dominion Collective. We have traveled far to reach your world. We bring you an offer that every species in this sector of the galaxy has received. In the Emergency Command Center deep beneath Geneva, world leaders watched in silence. President Sarah Mitchell of the United States sat beside Premier Yu Xiaomi of China. Chancellor Adisa Okafor of the African Union was there, along with Prime Minister Rajesh Kumar of India and 50 other heads of state. Your planet possesses resources we require, Vex Thorol continued. Your species shows potential for integration into our workforce. The Dominion offers you a place in our structure. You will provide 40% of your mineral resources. You will contribute 15% of your population to our labor initiatives. Your military will be dissolved. Your technology development will be supervised. In return, we will not destroy you. The transmission showed images then. Planets burning. Cities reduced to ash. Species that looked almost human, kneeling before Dominion soldiers. The message was clear. You have 72 of your hours to accept, Vex Thorol said. If you refuse, we will take what we need by force. We have integrated 437 to the Dominion. All of them eventually understood that resistance is pointless. We hope be wiser. The transmission ended. For 10 seconds, the command center was absolutely silent. Then President Mitchell spoke. Tell me we have options. The impossible mathematics General Marcus Webb stood before the holographic display showing the alien fleet. He was the supreme commander of Earth's unified defense force. A position created only 3 years ago when the nations finally agreed that space threats required unified response. The truth? Webb said, we can't win a conventional fight. Their shields can withstand anything we have. Their weapons can burn through our strongest armor like paper. Their ships move faster than anything we built. If this turns into a straight battle, we lose in hours. Then what do? Chancellor Okafor asked. Surrender billions of our people to slavery? Give up our world? No, Webb said. We fight. But not the way they expect. He changed the display. It now showed Earth's military assets, but also something else. Secret installations, hidden research facilities, projects that officially didn't exist. For the past 30 years, we've been preparing for this, Webb explained. Ever since we detected the first signs of FTL travel in our sector. We knew someone would come eventually. We hoped they'd be friendly. We prepared in case they weren't. The display showed weapons that looked like asteroids, satellites that were actually weapon platforms, ships that appeared civilian but carried devastating payloads, and something else, something that made even the hardened military officers in the room uncomfortable. Project Vendetta, Webb said quietly. If we're going to die, we're going to make sure they remember us. We're going to make sure the next species they threaten has a fighting chance. Humanity's answer, the response was recorded in the same command center. Every world leader was present. President Mitchell stood at the podium, but she spoke for all of them. She spoke for 8 billion human beings who had voted in the fastest global referendum in history. The result was overwhelming. 96% had chosen the same answer. Commander Vex Thorol, Mitchell said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with something ancient and terrible. We have received your offer. We have considered it carefully. Humanity has one response. She paused. Behind her, the flags of every nation on Earth stood together. No. The single word echoed across the transmission. Mitchell continued. We will not surrender our people. We will not surrender our world. We will not surrender our freedom. If you want Earth, you will have to take it. And we promise you this, we will make you pay for every meter of ground. We will make you remember us. We will make you regret that you ever came to our star. She leaned forward into the camera. You've conquered 437 species. You're about to learn why 438 will be different. You asked for our answer. Here it is. One word you'll hear again before this is over. Her final word was delivered with the cold certainty of someone who had nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. Die. The transmission ended. In orbit, the Dominion fleet began to move. On Earth, 8 billion humans prepared for war, the price of defiance when the fire fell the Dominion. Attack began at dawn. March 18th. Their strategy was simple and had worked on 437 worlds before. Strike the military targets first. Destroy the capacity to resist. Then demonstrate overwhelming power on civilian populations until surrender came. Commander Vex. Thorol watched from his flagship as the first plasma beams lanced down toward Earth. The targeting computers had identified the primary military installations. North American Aerospace Defense Command, the European Strategic Defense Center, the Asian Pacific Military Coordination Hub, 12 targets that, once destroyed, would decapitate human military leadership. The beams fired. The installations exploded in bursts of superheated plasma that could be seen from orbit. Vex Thorol nodded with satisfaction. Within hours, the humans would realize their situation was hopeless. He was wrong about the timing. The humans already knew they were going to lose. They had known it from the moment the Dominion fleet arrived. But knowing you will lose and accepting defeat are two very different things. The Ghost Protocol, in the ruins of what had been the North American Command Center. Nothing stirred. The facility was gone, vaporized in the first strike. But deep beneath the melted rock and twisted metal, in tunnels that went down 3 kilometers. Backup systems activated automatically. General Webb appeared on screens in 40 different locations simultaneously. Not as a hologram, but as a recorded message that played from independent systems buried in mountains, hidden in desert bunkers, concealed beneath ocean floors. Ghost Protocol is now active, his image said. All units are autonomous. All commanders have full authority. There is no central command to destroy. There is no leader to kill. Every soldier is now the resistance. Every citizen is now a warrior. Make them pay for every inch. Across the planet, military units that the Dominion believed destroyed activated from hidden positions. Submarines surfaced in the Arctic carrying weapons the enemy didn't know existed. Aircraft that had been grounded and camouflaged took flight from highways and fields. Soldiers who had pretended to be civilians picked up weapons from hidden caches. The Dominion had cut off the head of human military command. They discovered that humanity had no head. It had 8 billion heads, and every single one of them was angry. The Mars Gambit, the Dominion sent 3 capital ships to secure Mars colony. The settlement there was home to 200,000 humans, mostly miners and scientists. It was also, according to their intelligence, the location of humanity's primary spacecraft construction facility. Captain David Park commanded the defense of Mars colony. He had 80 ships, all of them small, all of them outdated compared to the Dominion vessels. His standing orders from Ghost Protocol were clear: delay the enemy. Make them waste time and resources. Park had different ideas about what delay meant. All ships, he broadcast on the colony-wide channel. We're not here to delay them. We're here to hurt them. We're here to make them bleed. Who's with me? 200,000 voices answered. Every single person in the colony, from children to elderly, from scientists to janitors, roared their defiance across the communication networks. The Dominion ships entered Mars orbit expecting token resistance. What they got was fury incarnate. Park's ships didn't try to fight defensively. They attacked. They loaded every missile they had, pointed their vessels at the enemy, and charged. For Earth, Park screamed as his ship, the Red Planet, accelerated toward the largest Dominion vessel. Behind him, 79 other ships followed. They were moths flying into a flame, and they knew it. They didn't care. The Dominion captain tried to target them all, but the humans were too fast, too close, flying in patterns that seemed insane. Ships weaved between plasma beams. Missiles struck shields and exploded. And when the ammunition ran out, Park's ships did something the Dominion had never seen before. They rammed the Red Planet, struck the Dominion flagship at full acceleration. The explosion tore through both vessels. The flagship's shields had been designed to stop energy weapons and projectiles. They weren't designed to stop 100,000 tons of metal and fuel moving at combat speed. The flagship broke apart. Park died instantly, along with his entire crew. But he took 3,000 Dominion soldiers with him. 79 other human ships followed his example. By the time the assault ended, 2 Dominion capital ships were destroyed. The third was crippled. On Mars colony, the civilians watched the battle and knew what came next. The surviving Dominion ship would bombard the colony in revenge. Dr. Sarah Chen, the colony's chief scientist, activated the final protocol. Evacuation shuttles are launching, she announced. Everyone who can fit, get on board. Everyone else, we're not done fighting yet. 12,000 people escaped before the bombardment began. 188,000 remained. They died when the colony was turned to molten glass. But they died on their feet, broadcasting one message to Earth and to the galaxy beyond. We did not surrender. Remember us? The Hidden Fangs back on Earth. The Dominion discovered that destroying military installations meant nothing when every installation was a potential weapon. The asteroids that had been mining operations revealed themselves as kinetic bombardment platforms. Rocks accelerated to incredible speeds, dropped from orbit with precision. Dominion ships tried to intercept them, but you cannot shoot down a mountain when it's already moving at orbital velocity. 3 more capital ships were destroyed by weapons that were older than human civilization. Rocks. Just rocks. Moving very, very fast. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Torres commanded a submarine in the Pacific Ocean. Her vessel, the USS Determination, was one of 20 that had been equipped with experimental railgun systems. The weapons had never been tested in actual combat. The engineers weren't even sure they would work. We're about to find out, Torres said, as her submarine surfaced. Target the closest landing ship. All power to the railgun. Fire when ready. The railgun drew power from the submarine's reactor, channeling enormous electrical energy into magnetic coils. The projectile was a simple tungsten rod. No explosives. No guidance system. Just dense metal accelerated to hypersonic speeds. The rod punched through the Dominion landing ship's shields like they were tissue paper. It went through the hull, through 3 interior decks, through the engine core, and out the other side. The ship exploded in midair, raining debris across the ocean. Reload, Torres ordered calmly. Find me another target. Around the world, human forces used weapons the Dominion didn't understand and couldn't predict. Swarms of drones that attacked like angry insects. Chemical weapons that bypassed energy shields. Biological agents designed not to kill, but to disable electronics. M-bombs that fried systems. None of it should have worked against a species with technology centuries ahead of humanity. But it worked because the Dominion had never fought an enemy this desperate, this creative, this absolutely unwilling to give up. The message spreads in the Dominion fleet. Commander Vex Thorol watched the casualty reports climb. He had lost 18 ships. 18. Against a primitive species that shouldn't have been able to scratch his shields. His tactical officers looked confused and frightened. How are they doing this? One of them asked. Our intelligence showed they had no effective weapons. No shields. No FTL capability. Vex Thorol stared at the tactical display showing Earth. The planet was wounded, burning in a dozen places. But it was still fighting. Every time they destroyed one weapon system, 3 more appeared. Every time they eliminated a military unit, civilians picked up the weapons and continued the fight. He pulled up footage from the Mars colony battle. He watched human ships charge directly into plasma fire, watched them ram his vessels without hesitation. He watched civilians stay on the surface broadcasting messages of defiance, even as the bombardment began. They're doing this, Vex Thorol said slowly, because they would rather die than kneel, and they want us to know it. He opened a channel to the Dominion High Command, far away in the core territories. This is Commander Thorol. I am requesting immediate reinforcements. 50 capital ships. 100 support vessels. This species is not like the others. If we want this planet, we're going to have to every single one of them. The response came back within hours. Reinforcements denied. You have sufficient forces. Complete your mission, Commander. Vex Thorol looked at the planet below and felt something he hadn't experienced in his 300 years of military service. He felt doubt. The humans had lost millions already. They were still fighting. They would keep fighting until the last human died. And somewhere in the cold mathematics of military strategy, he began to wonder, even if the Dominion won, what would victory cost? And would the rest of the galaxy be watching? On Earth, in bunkers and submarines and hidden bases, General Webb's recorded message played again and again. Make them pay for every inch. Humanity was paying a terrible price. But they were making sure the Dominion paid too. And they were sending a message that would echo across the stars. We do not surrender. We do not kneel. Come for us if you dare, but know this. We will make you bleed one word across the void. The breaking point, 3 weeks into the war. Earth was unrecognizable from orbit. Fires burned across continents. Entire cities had been reduced to craters. The oceans glowed with the heat of kinetic strikes. 2 billion humans were dead. The Dominion had lost 43 ships. Commander Vex Thorol stood alone in his command chamber, staring at reports that made no strategic sense. His forces controlled orbital space. They had destroyed every major military installation. They had demonstrated overwhelming firepower. By every calculation, by every precedent in Dominion history, the humans should have surrendered 2 weeks ago. Instead, they fought harder. A transmission came through from the surface. It was being broadcast on all frequencies, sent from thousands of locations simultaneously. A woman appeared on screen. She wore the uniform of what had been Earth's Unified Defense Force, though it was torn and stained with blood. Behind her, ruins stretched to the horizon. My name is Colonel Maria Santos, she said. Her voice was hoarse from breathing smoke and ash. I'm broadcasting from what used to be Snow Hollow. 15 million people lived here. Now it's gone. My family is gone. My friends are gone. Everything I loved is ash. Vex Thorol expected surrender. Expected begging. He got neither. I want you to understand something, Santos continued. You've killed billions of us. You've burned our world. You think this will make us give up, but every person you kill just proves we were right to fight. Every city you destroy just makes us more certain that we can never, ever let you win. She leaned closer to the camera. Her eyes were dry. The time for tears had passed. We're still here. We're still fighting, and we will never stop. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not in 1,000 years. You want Earth? Come down and take it from our cold, dead hands. We'll be waiting. The transmission ended. Vextoral received reports that similar broadcasts were coming from hundreds of locations. Humans in bunkers, humans in underground cities, humans in submarines and in mountain fortresses, all saying the same thing: we will never surrender. The fleet that came from nowhere on the dark side of the moon. In facilities that the Dominion had never detected, something was happening. For 30 years, humanity had been building spacecraft in secret. Not military vessels, not according to international treaties. These were designated as deep space research platforms. They were officially unarmed. Admiral Jennifer Okoro stood on the bridge of the UHSV Defiance, watching as 57 other ships powered up their reactors. The vessels looked strange, cobbled together from mining equipment and research modules. They didn't have proper weapons. They had something else. All ships report ready, her tactical officer said. Antimatter containment is stable. Collision courses are calculated. Okoro nodded. She was 58 years old. She had been an astronaut, then an engineer, then a scientist. She had spent 20 years building these ships for exploration and discovery. Now she would use them for war. Open a channel to the fleet, she said. 50-7 captains appeared on her screen. They were scientists, engineers, civilians who had volunteered when the war began. None of them were soldiers. All of them were ready to die. You all know what we're doing, Okoro said. The Dominion thinks they've destroyed our military capability. They think we can't threaten their fleet anymore. They're wrong. Our ships have antimatter reactors. If we destabilize them in proximity to enemy vessels, the explosion will be equivalent to multiple nuclear weapons. She paused. There's no coming back from this. Once we start the destabilization sequence, we have 4 minutes. Then the reactors go critical. This is a one-way mission. Not a single captain objected. Not one suggested retreat. A few smiled. For Earth, Captain James Wilson said from the bridge of the UHSV Perseverance. He was 24 years old. He had a physics degree and a fiancée waiting in a bunker in Colorado. He would never see her again? For humanity? Captain Yuki Nakamura added from the UHSV Race 31. Her parents had died in the bombardment of Tokyo. She had nothing left but rage and a ship full of barely controlled antimatter. For everyone who died, Okoro finished. And for everyone who will live because of what we do today. All ships execute attack pattern Delta. Show them what humans do when we have nothing left to lose. The 58 ships launched from the far side of the moon, accelerating at speeds that would have torn apart any crew not protected by experimental inertial dampeners. They appeared on Dominion sensors as a swarm of small contacts, barely worth noticing. Then they headed directly for the heart of the enemy fleet, the final. Messagex Thorol saw them coming and laughed. Civilian vessels? Research ships? They were desperate, but this was suicide. Ignore them, he ordered. Focus fire on the surface installations. We need to break their will to resist. But his tactical officer was staring at his instruments with growing horror. Commander, those ships? Their reactor signatures are increasing. They're deliberately destabilizing antimatter containment. Vex Thorol understood a split second too late. Evasive action? All ships scatter. The Dominion fleet tried to disperse, but they were too close together, too confident in their superiority. The human ships didn't fire weapons. They simply flew into the middle of the enemy formation and let their reactors go critical. Admiral Okoro watched the countdown on her display. 3 minutes. 2 minutes. Her ship was heading for the Dominion flagship. Around her, other human vessels were targeting the largest enemy ships they could find. Recording message for Earth, she said calmly. This is Admiral Jennifer Okoro. By the time anyone hears this, I'll be gone. I want my daughter to know I was thinking of her at the end. I want everyone to know we did this willingly. We chose this. 1 minute. The Dominion thought we would break. They thought they could take our world and make us slaves. They were wrong. Humans don't break. We don't surrender. We don't give up. Even when we're losing, even when death is certain, we fight. Not because we think we can win. Because we refuse to kneel. 30 seconds. To anyone listening in the galaxy beyond, remember this day. Remember that when the Dominion came to Earth, we gave them one answer. One word that every species should remember when tyrants come calling. 10 seconds. Die. The antimatter reactors destabilize simultaneously. 58 explosions tore through the Dominion fleet like the fist of an angry god. Ships that had survived 1,000 battles simply ceased to exist. Energy shields designed to withstand plasma. Cannons couldn't stop the raw power of antimatter annihilation. When the light faded, 31 Dominion capital ships were gone, destroyed completely. Another 22 were crippled. Drifting wrecks, venting atmosphere, and bodies into space stopped the Dominion fleet, which had arrived with 3,000 ships and absolute confidence. Now had fewer than 800 operational vessels. And for the first time in their 400,000-year history, they were afraid. The word that echoed Commander Vex Thorl survived because his flagship had been at the edge of the formation. He watched the casualty reports scroll across his screen, unable to process what had happened. His fleet was broken. His soldiers were terrified. And the humans were still fighting. A new transmission came from Earth, not from a military commander this time. From an old woman sitting in a chair in what looked like a bunker. She was perhaps 80 years old, with white hair and gentle eyes. She looked like somebody's grandmother. She was Commander Thorl, she said softly. My name is Helen Chang. I was a teacher before your fleet arrived. I taught history to children. I taught them about humanity's past, about our wars and our mistakes and our triumphs. She folded her hands in her lap. I want you to understand something about humans. We have been fighting for survival since we lived in caves and ran from predators. We have survived ice ages and plagues and wars that killed millions. We have learned one lesson better than any other species in the galaxy. Her gentle eyes hardened. We survive, no matter the cost, no matter the odds, no matter how powerful the enemy. We survive. And when someone tries to enslave us, tries to take our freedom, tries to make us kneel, we become the most dangerous thing in the universe. We become humans with nothing left to lose. She stood slowly, supporting herself on a cane. You came here expecting easy conquest. You came here thinking we would surrender like the other species. But we are not like them. We will burn our own world to ashes before we let you have it. We will kill every single one of you before we accept slavery. That's not bravery, Commander. That's just who we are. The transmission changed. It showed footage from across Earth. Humans fighting in ruins. Humans building weapons from scrap. Humans caring for wounded in underground hospitals. Humans teaching children how to fight. Humans who had lost everything and were still impossibly fighting. You wanted our answer, Helen Chang said. Every human who has ever lived would give you the same one. The same word we've been saying since your fleet arrived. The same word we'll keep saying until the last human dies. She raised her head and spoke with the voice of 8 billion humans. Guy, the transmission ended. Across the Dominion fleet, soldiers looked at each other with growing fear. They had conquered 437 species. They had never faced anything like this. They had never faced an enemy that grew more dangerous as they lost, that fought harder when hope was gone, that would rather destroy themselves than accept defeat. Commander Vex Thorl made a decision that would change galactic history. He opened a channel to Dominion High Command. This is Commander Thorl. I am ordering a full retreat from the Earth system. We cannot conquer this species. Even if we kill every human, the cost will cripple our fleet. I am withdrawing immediately. The response was furious. You are ordered to complete your mission. Reinforcements are being sent. No, Rex Thorol said quietly. Send them if you want. I won't be here. I won't sacrifice more ships for this planet. The humans have won. Not because they defeated us, but because they made victory too expensive. The Dominion fleet began to withdraw. As they left Earth's orbit, heading for the jump point that would take them back to their territory, every single human on Earth watched. In bunkers and submarines and mountain fortresses, humans watched their enemy leave. They had not won. Earth was devastated. 2 billion dead. Cities gone. Civilizations erased. But they had not lost either. They had survived. They had made the Dominion bleed and run dot, and as the last enemy ship vanished from their skies, humans across the planet spoke the same words. Not in triumph, not in celebration. In exhausted, defiant determination. We did not surrender. We will never surrender. The message that traveled the story of Earth spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. The Dominion tried to suppress it, but they couldn't stop other species from hearing. 437 conquered worlds learned. What happened when humanity was given a choice between slavery and death? They learned about cities burning while defenders fought in the ruins. They learned about Admiral Okoro and her 57 ships choosing suicide rather than retreat. They learned about Mars Colony broadcasting defiance until the last moment. They learned about General Webb's Ghost Protocol and Colonel Santos's broadcasts and an old teacher named Helen Chong who spoke for her species. But most of all, they learned about one word. One single word that humanity had given to the Dominion fleet. Other species began to wonder if humans could resist. Could they? If a primitive world could hurt the Dominion so badly, what could they do? The empire that had ruled for millennia began to crack. Not from external attack, but from internal doubt. On Earth, humanity rebuilt. They counted their dead. They mourned their losses. They learned the price of freedom and decided it was worth paying. And when other species sent messages asking if the stories were true, if humans really had fought the way the reports said, Earth sent back one simple response. We did not surrender. We will never surrender. And if you choose to fight for your freedom, neither should you. Comments for next part.